I'm preparing to start week 2 of my budget Whole30, and I just went to the grocery store. I went to a international farmers market called Nam De Moon, which only I think exists in my area, but we've had a lot of different kinds of international farmers markets in the Atlanta area, so I don't know if other places have these, but they tend to have pretty good prices for produce and a lot of different options, and really good prices on meat as well, in my experience. So I just wanted to give another example of a possible type of grocery store that you could go to still get a good deal on your Whole30 foods. So I'll show you what I bought. So here is my receipt and listing out all the items that I purchased for this week. And it came out to $30.03, which is pretty good, and with tax $30.63. So these were $2.79 a dozen, which at Aldi they're closer to $1, which is one reason why I love shopping at Aldi as much as I do. But I got 2 dozen because I'm going to need quite a bit of eggs for my breakfast. So these Butterball 1 pound containers were $2.50 each, but I knew that since I'm making turkey burgers and chili, I'm also making stuffed peppers, so I'm gonna have like 3 meals where I need ground turkey. So really I probably could have gotten more than this and still used it all, but I got 3 packages, so that right there was like about $8. However, because I'm making this chili, it's gonna have really good chili powder amount. Like I'm putting like probably like half a cup in this chili. So I got another package of chili powder, and they have like wholesale spices at my farmer's market, which I really like. Other things I left off my grocery list is I left off potatoes because I had some leftover regular and sweet potatoes from last week. But since I only had 2 sweet potatoes and I'm probably going to use quite a few, I bought some of the jumbo sweet potatoes they had there, which these things are massive, and this is like the smallest they had. Otherwise, I've got some red bell peppers for my chili, diced tomatoes for the chili and shakshuka. I have green bell peppers for the stuffed peppers. I have kale for my breakfast hash and for the shakshuka. I might throw a little kale in the chili as well. Celery can be for snacks, but also to go in the chili. The lettuce is for my burger wraps, and I got tomatoes to like add an extra tomatoes to the meals, but also use sliced tomato on the burgers. I already had pickles in the fridge, and I had some bacon left over from last week, so I'm going to use up some of that stuff in the meals, and then bananas for snacks. So that's my grocery haul. To actually make the hash for breakfast, I'm going to use like kind of a large stock pot because I'm using a very large volume of kale here. And I've decided the fat of choice is going to be leftover bacon fat from last week's bacon. So I'm throwing that in first so it can get nice and melty. Next thing I'm going to add is going to be the onion and the bacon, so they can the onion can soften and the bacon can crisp up. And then on top of that, I'm going to add the kale, and I brought out the lid for the pan so that I can kind of steam the kale on top of the other stuff that's frying in there. And my sweet potatoes should be done in a couple minutes. I'll just add those in there and kind of toss it all together with salt, pepper, red pepper flakes, maybe a little more thyme, and probably a little bit of garlic for extra flavor. I keep some in the refrigerator already chopped. And then after that, I'm going to scramble my eggs separately and plate them on top of my hash, and it should be a pretty good breakfast. Okay, so this seems to be working. My bacon is now crisping up a little. I have it on high heat, and I'm just going to throw in my sweet potato and kale. My sweet potatoes all baked and soft now, and I cooked the kale until it was like bright green. And I've already tossed in some extra spices, so I'm going to combine it, and then I'm going to add a little garlic, and this will be, I might do garlic powder. This will be our hash, and I'm frying up an egg over here. To make Shakshuka, I chopped up an entire onion, and I'm going to use paprika, cumin, garlic, chili powder, and then diced tomatoes and fresh chopped parsley that I had around. You can use dried flakes. I put a stove to medium heat and poured olive oil and then fried up my onions first so that they softened. Then once they were translucent, added some garlic and then added in the tomatoes. I gave this a stir and let it kind of combine and then began to season. I added some white vinegar to give it a little more acidic flavory. Then added some paprika, some cumin, and a small amount of chili powder. Then added some pepper and salt from my grinder containers, and then gave that a good stir. After it cooked together for a little bit, I made some wells in the tomato mixture and dropped in 6 eggs. I put 5 around the perimeter and then 1 in the center. After all the eggs were added to the tomato mixture, I put the lid on top and let them cook for 6 minutes. Afterward, I was checking to see if the eggs were firm enough to my liking because I don't like them runny, and they were, so I just added some parsley on top, and that's the finished product. I'm about to prepare the turkey burgers, and I'm only going to use one of my 3 packages. I'm going to try to make the volume of the turkey a little bigger through adding half an onion and a leftover bell pepper I had, and probably about 4 eggs to help it like kind of hold together and cook nicely. Then maybe I'll just do 3 eggs. And then I've got some different spices. I don't know like how well all these will go together, but I want it to be flavorful. So combined with the onion, I think it should come together pretty flavorful. And then I have one more thing I was going to use to kind of give it a little bit more thickness in the mixture, and that's I have some like coconut flour mixed with almond flour. So I'm just going to mix this all together by hand and then form 7 patties. To finish off my burgers, here's my cooked turkey burger and my cooked fried egg, and I prepared my lettuce wrap, which was the outside leaf of the iceberg lettuce, and I cut up some pickles. I always have pickles on hand because I'm a pickle fanatic, and some tomato, and then to top it off, since we can't have ketchup with the sugar, I'm going to use some hot sauce. I like spicy stuff anyway, and I have spicy mustard, and then I have the leftover mayo from last week in my giant mason jar. For dinner for the first 4 days, I made a turkey veggie chili and served it over either sweet potato or regular potato. To do this, first I sauteed up my meat. I added like half a cup of chili powder and a decent amount of salt. Then added some hot sauce so that the meat could cook with all that flavoring. Next, I added 2 bell peppers, carrots, celery, and an entire can of diced tomato and some salsa. Then added some cumin, a little bit of oregano, and garlic powder, and then stirred this up, and later added about a half a cup of water to kind of give it some more liquid. Let it stir and cook. For dinner the rest of the 3 nights, I made stuffed peppers, and I started by hollowing out the bell peppers, and I chopped up some onion, tomato, kale, potato, and sweet potato. I already had some pre-made sweet potato cooked. Then to flavor, I had garlic, chili powder, cumin, and I was going to use a half a pound of turkey for this, and I also have some salsa for some extra flavor. So first, with this stove on medium-high heat, I sauteed up my onion and added the turkey and let those cook together with some cumin, some chili powder, some garlic, and let that stir and cook with some salt and some pepper. Once the meat was cooked through, I added in some of this raw potato and the kale so that they could get cooked. Once I'd finished that, I added a little bit of tomato and the sweet potato and let that mix and combine with some salsa. After the stuffing was finished, I filled the bell peppers and cooked them at 400 for half an hour.